Welcome to Rising. So glad to have you here watching us. It's going to be a great show today. More news to discuss regarding Tucker Carlson. Who else?
Who else, indeed, Robby? Well, first up, according to salacious new reporting in Vanity Fair, Fox Corporation chair Rupert Murdoch removed Tucker Carlson from the air over religious remarks the host made during a speech last Friday night. Quote, "That stuff freaks Rupert out. He doesn't like all the spiritual talk," a source told reporter Gabriel Sherman. We've got some video from that speech. Let's watch.
When people or crowds of people, or the largest crowd of people at all, which is the federal government, the largest human organization in human history, decide that the goal is to destroy things, destruction for its own sake. Hey, let's tear it down. What you're watching is not a political movement, it's evil. Maybe we should all take just like 10 minutes a day to say a prayer about it. I'm serious. Like, why not? And I'm saying that to you not as some kind of evangelist. I'm literally saying that to you as an Episcopalian. The Samaritans of our time. I'm coming to you from the most humble and lowly theological position you can. I'm literally an Episcopalian, okay? And even I have concluded it might be worth taking just 10 minutes out of your busy schedule to say a prayer for the future, and I hope you will.
Sherman also reports on a key dinner between Murdoch and his then fiancee and Carlson that took place last year. Apparently, this is all according to Gabriel Sherman, which I'll give you my opinion on in a moment. But Murdoch was, according to Sherman, so unnerved about this ultra-religious fiancee that calling Carlson a, quote, messenger from God. He actually ended their engagement just days after that dinner took place. Sources told Vanity Fair that Fox ultimately settled its legal dispute with Dominion because Fox lawyers did not want 92-year-old Rupert to testify, as apparently it would reveal that he's in an advanced state.
According to additional reporting, the Politique Republic on Substack was quoted as saying that Carlson's prior $1.6 million per month contract has as much as 18 months remaining. Fox CEO Lachlan Murdoch and Carlson were in the middle of negotiating an extension through 2029 when the Murdochs decided to bench him instead. They don't want Tucker going anywhere, and they're going to force him to sit on the bench for months as they recover from his departure.
All right, so a lot to go over here. First of all, you know, the report about the Rupert Murdoch not being comfortable with the religious tone of Tucker's speech, which we played some of.
Maybe we should just read it.
Very skeptical. I'm very skeptical of that. But
why is it that you're so skeptical of that?
I mean, the network has tons of very religious, very socially conservative content all the time. What Tucker said in those remarks, I didn't find to be particularly more. I mean, this is a network that has employed like Mike Huckabee and people of that. You know,
sure, I agree.
Fanatical.
So I looked up, some other comments that were said. Apparently, elsewhere in the address, Carlson called abortion child sacrifice, and he cast American politics as a battle between good and evil. And his solution was to take 10 minutes a day to say a prayer about it. So there was a little bit more than what we just saw in that clip. But I agree. It seems to me that there has never been any hesitation about the religiosity of the discourse on Fox
100%.
News, especially in an earlier era. In the early aughts, in the Bush years, I feel like evangelical religiosity was much more in the foreground of Republican conservative political thought. And the idea that that was fine, the kind of Huckabee Sanders of the world were fine, and now some remarks that were given not even on Fox's own program were the cause of this breakup. It doesn't quite pass the smell test to me.
Sort of meeting between the three of them, and then he breaks it off with the fiance, and Tucker being her favorite. That sounds like a plot line out of Succession or something, not necessarily something that corresponds with reality. Gabriel Sherman, wrote a very popular book about Roger Ailes. Fox denied tons of the anecdotes there within. You have to make up your own mind, but for all the theories of what went wrong between Fox and Tucker Carlson, I don't find this one particularly
I mean, can it just be the case that there are multiple factors going on here, that it might be true that Rupert Murdoch has somewhat of a distaste personally for religiosity, that maybe that is a factor in him breaking up with his fiance, maybe that is a little bit of something that stuck under his craw with Tucker Carlson, but it was that plus the Dominion lawsuit liability for the company, plus the personal statements that came out in the Dominion transcripts that the the slights from Tucker against management, plus the fact that there's still a pending lawsuit, plus the accusations from Tucker's former producer, Abby Grossberg, about the anti-Semitic statements in the workplace and the inappropriate sexual environment at the workplace. Can't it just be, maybe we're all just chasing at figments, trying to nail down one answer? It can't just be all of those things in tandem?
Well, certainly the mainstream media is getting very interested in the Abby Grossberg lawsuit and pointing to that as a prime culprit here. She was actually interviewed on MSNBC the other day, and I believe we have some clips of that. Let's go ahead and play it.
Where are all of those recordings now? Did Dominion ultimately get them?
I have several recordings that I'm still going through that we've recovered from all of the phones. There are 90 that we have. I don't know what Fox turned over. I do know, based on what I've read, that they did hand over those Sidney and Rudy tapes to them. Fox should have everything. They really should.
Grossberg also said that Tucker Carlson and his executive producer personally made her life a living hell.
Because obviously, I'm at the center of a lot of this, and it felt surreal. And there were a lot of mixed emotions that went through my head. There were feelings at first like, yes. And then also the reality that you don't want anything bad to happen to anybody. But at the same time, Tucker and his executive producer, Justin Wells, who was also fired, really were responsible for breaking me and making my life a living hell. So there is a feeling of justice, but it's only partial.
Why did you go work for him?
I was working with Maria Bartiromo at the time. I knew as a female that I would never get the executive producer title there, working on that show. The opportunity came up to go to Tucker, and it was a promotion. I would be overseeing a team. I would also be overseeing 3 different platforms, and I liked the staff, honestly, when I interviewed with them, and I was hoping that it would be more professional, and what he was portraying on air was just a show, and unfortunately that wasn't the case.
And again, that's her version of things. We are not, and really no one in the public is in a position to adjudicate exactly what happened with this employee. If the circumstances were as she described, I don't know and would tend to extremely doubt that it's the case that a woman is not, there's no women serving in executive producer roles. That is something we could probably check, but
Well, I don't have quite so much skepticism about that, given the way that the world often works. However, I know obviously it's an open question about what it is that she actually has in the way of evidence. She says she has 90 recordings that show some evidence of a hostile work environment. So, that certainly would make me a little nervous if I were in the position that Tucker Carlson and Fox News is in right now. It's unclear why she would claim something like that if she doesn't actually have the goods. Of course, it could be that what's on those recordings is not especially material. And I'm sure we'll find out all of that very soon, as there continues to be a great deal of public interest.
But we should definitely, we kind of glossed over there at the beginning, I think probably the most important part of all of this, which is that there is a possibility that Tucker is going to be effectively silenced, not speaking. I mean, consensually, if he's accepting the payout for the rest of his contract, it was like $30 million if it's 18 months, that may take him out of the game for playing the role of pundit during the election, during a primary battle for the soul of the Republican Party, its ideological direction, Trump, DeSantis, maybe someone else. He was primed as Fox's most important anchor to play a huge role in adjudicating how this would all shake out. It is, and I think there are people in Trump world who are not happy, who would have, I think, perceived him to be, at the very least, a fair kind of referee for this battle between Trump and DeSantis, or not, I think, overly partial to one or the other. Obviously, he's had a lot of esteem for many of Trump's positions. He interviewed him very favorably just a few days ago before this happened. Right. He's also been, very glowing and gushing and promoting of DeSantis.
And of course, privately, what we know from the Dominion discovery is that he said a bunch of negative things about Trump, saying that he was very hopeful that we were soon going to be at a point where we never had to talk about Donald Trump again, that he hates Donald Trump.
I mean, none of that has fazed Donald Trump. Donald Trump was asked about Tucker's exit the other day on Newsmax and was like, I don't understand it at all. Tucker's great. I love the guy. So Trump world people thought they got a fair shake, and maybe a fair shake and then some.
No, of course they did. I mean, that was the whole point.
I think their perception is that the next person would not necessarily be as favorable to Trump.
Yeah, I think that's possible, but that's the whole point of the Dominion lawsuit, right? The whole point is that Tucker, along with the rest of Fox, understood that there was a financial benefit in being positive about Donald Trump at Fox News, whereas privately he did not feel the same way. And I think an interesting question would be, if he does speak out separate and apart from Fox News, does he continue to believe that there's an advantage to being pro-Trump or pro-Trumpism, or does his independence from the network mean that there's a different kind of narrative that's coming out of him as an individual? I'd be interested to see it. Don't know if we'll get the chance, but we'll have more Rising for you right after this.